The Tainted Glove presents Yumper and Svo at the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Oh, what a big man you are. Hey, let me buy you a pack of gum. I'll show you how to chew it. Ooh.
And Justin Svo Svoboda.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 12 of the Yumper and Svo at the Show. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tom Garcia, a.k.a. Yumper, and I'm with my co-host, Justin Svo Svoboda. What's up, Svo?
Yumper, what's going on, man? Is the world still turning, or did White Sox Twitter start itself on fire again?
Well, it's a normal thing for White Sox Twitter to start itself on fire when the team isn't playing, or when the team is playing. So, I don't know. Yeah.
Let's just stick to movies.
Mm-hmm. Let's get away from the drama on Twitter and let's just stick to movies today.
I like it.
But we got a nice little packed show as well. So, but we got some guests and some interesting things going on today.
Yeah, so we have a new segment that we're going to try out. I think it's kind of fun. We'll get into that in a minute. But before we do that other stuff, we have our traditional Twitter question. So our Twitter question is kind of based on today's episode. What is your favorite movie from the year 2000? So our theme tonight is movies from the literal year 2000. And, you know, we had our normal Motley Crue replies from our normal listeners. Mailman Jack said High Fidelity with John Cusack, which is absolutely one of my favorite movies. Number 5 with a Bullet actually inspired like one of my favorite songs from Taking Back Sunday. Like they quote High Fidelity all the time, and one of them's Number 5 with a Bullet. So High Fidelity is really quotable. King Nam, Burly Cat, Road Trip, and Gone in 60 Seconds. So I work with our guest today, and one of the questions that we ask all the new hires is, we have a series of them, but one of them is, what is your favorite Nicolas Cage movie? And a lot of them have like this befuddled look, like, who the hell is Nicolas Cage? But I love Gone in 60 Seconds. Yump, what's your favorite Nicolas Cage movie?
My favorite Nicolas Cage movie is probably The Rock.
I would agree with you.
Yeah, The Rock's pretty good.
The Rock is probably my favorite one. Queen Nam said Aaron Brockovich. She loves it. My wife said Center Stage, which is actually one of my guilty pleasures. I love Center Stage. Great use of a Red Hot Chili Pepper song in that movie, Yump. I don't know if you've seen Center Stage.
No, I have not.
Fantastic movie. What's his name from the OC is in it? I forgot what his name was.
Is he in I know Blue Eyes? Guys with Blue Eyes, older dude.
Yeah.
He's in I can't think of his name right now. I can picture him though. I know he's talking. He's in House on Haunted Hill. I just watched that movie.
What's his name? I don't know his name. Our guest knows their name, but we can't bring her on yet. So I'm gonna have her tell us when we bring her on. Shankster, who's one of our like favorites, always contributing, said Almost Famous, which we're gonna talk about a little bit in depth later on tonight. Our boy Chirizi said American Psycho, and Hank the Tank went with Remember the Titans, which is another movie that we're going to get into a little bit in depth tonight. So we have some good movies from the year 2000 from the Twitterverse.
Yeah.
Do you have any like comments about any of these movies or anything?
Well, High Fidelity, I really love the soundtrack in that movie. And just the fact that he works at a record store is really cool. Totally agree.
Vinyl.
Yeah, totally agree with Shankster on Almost Famous. It's a great movie. American Psycho, classic. Just going through, like, before we go into later in the show, but this is probably like one of the hardest lists I had to go through because 2000s had some good bangers on there.
2000 had, like, the year 2000 specifically had some like fantastic movies. I was 18 years old in the year 2000. I just graduated high school. I know I'm old as shit. And I worked at Sony Theaters in Streamwood before it closed down. And I was seeing all these movies for free multiple times. Like, I probably saw American Psycho in the theater 10 times. I saw Center Stage a bunch of times. But it's one of my favorite years for movies. 1999 and 2000 were like back-to-back just bangers.
Yeah, they were 2 good years. Very good years. American Psycho, man. We'll get more into it, but yeah, this is going to be a fun episode with these movies we picked.
Absolutely. Do you want to get into what we've been watching this week before we bring on our guest?
Sure thing. So, me personally, I saw 2 films that come to substance. The first one is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. This is a film that Fizz has been pushing on me and you since it came out. He was telling me how hilarious it was. And I'm going to be honest with you. Me and Jen watched this movie. I love Pedro Pascal. I'm a big fan of his. And I do like Nicolas Cage. I just didn't like it. I understand what they were going for in the movie. I understand the the parody of Nicolas Cage's character. It was just, to me, it was like kind of a bad movie. It had some funny parts, but it just was boring to me.
I still haven't watched it yet.
And I'm sorry for that, Fidz. I know you're like a big pusher of it. Like, I tried it and we went in open minded and we just weren't fans of it. Which brings me to my next film. Without giving anything away, I saw Nope on Tuesday. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When Fitz told me the way it looked was fantastic, I was like, oh, Jesus, I hope it's good. Because, I mean, we Fitz have good, similar film taste, but we kind of differ on like a lot of artsy stuff and whatnot, which is good for debating film. But we saw Nope, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. I do know what the Jordan Peele was going for in his message he's putting out, publicly. I don't think he conveys it very well in this film. Beautiful. It's beautifully shot. Has Michael Wincott in there. He's from one of my favorite movies of all time, The Crow.
What movie is that? Magnificent Stan? What movie is that?
The Crow.
The Crow. How do we feel about The Crow, Yump?
Love it. One of the greatest movies ever, Magnificent Stan. But yeah, we just weren't fans of it. I actually went with my brother who's in town, and my mom. We actually took her to go see it. She's a big horror movie. It's more of a suspense movie, but they all agreed it wasn't as great as, Get Out. And Get Out's probably his best film, in my opinion.
Man, so I haven't seen it yet. I was gonna go, I get out of work at I think I get out of work at 8 on Saturday night, and I haven't seen it yet, and I've been dying to see it. So I might go Saturday night and walk right over to the theater from work and check it out. But that scares me a little bit because everyone else is saying it's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's kind of surprising because I do like Jordan Peele's work. I liked Us. I liked, well, of course, Get Out was what, introduced us to his directorial style, but I also liked his comedy. I mean, King Peele was one of the shows that we used to watch, and their skits are still, on YouTube.
Hilarious.
Yeah, and he does a Twilight Zone, which is okay. I mean, it's a nice rendition of it, interpretation of it. But this film, a lot of his messaging didn't click with me very well.
Okay.
I understand what he wants to go for, but in terms of the movie, I don't think he conveyed that message very well.
So I'm going to see it Saturday, and then I will give you my rundown on it, and we can all have a fight in our group message.
Mm-hmm. So what were you watching this week, Swell?
So a couple of things. One, so this is a funny story. When I first got to the Apple store that I'm at now, one of my first interactions was with this kid named Brandon, and we did not like each other. We did not like each other at all, right? We butted heads. We didn't see eye to eye. And before you know it, we had a conversation and something just clicked. And that dude's my homie now, right? So the other night he came over and he was feeling pretty good. We were hanging out and he told me about this movie on Netflix called Windfall. And I had never heard of it before. And I love, how I feel about Jason Segel, Freaks and Geeks, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I love Jason Segel. Jesse Plemons is always going to be the kid from Friday Night Lights. So he told me about this movie and I watched it and holy shit. This movie was fantastic. It was so first of all, Jesse Plemons plays this character that's almost like a Tim Cook, Steve Jobs CEO of a big company. Money is not an issue. And he has this summer home in the orange groves of California in the middle of nowhere, right? And Jason Segel's this low end robber home invasion dude, and he breaks into the house and they come home unexpectedly and he kidnaps them. And because he's afraid of getting caught or whatever, and it turns into this whole clusterfuck. Like, it's nuts and it's fantastic. And I loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I highly recommend it. And the other movie that I watched was the last movie I saw at the theater was Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. So I kind of went back and I was revisiting Baz Luhrmann's like library. Like I did, as Yumper calls it, Romeo plus Juliet. And I did Moulin Rouge and I did Gatsby. And I just wanted to revisit Gatsby. And the movie is so like, it's beautiful. It's shot so gorgeous and has like iconic images from the movie. I really enjoyed it. And the cast is fantastic. Toby and Leo and Joel Edgerton, and then what's her name from she was in Wall Street 2, Carey Mulligan. Like, just a fantastic cast. I love this version of Gatsby.
Yeah, it's beautifully shot.
Yeah. And Baz Luhrmann's known for like the cinematography and the camera work, and Elvis felt very similar. Like, I know you didn't love Elvis.
I never saw it, actually.
Oh, you didn't see it. Your brother did. That's right.
Yeah.
I thought Elvis was fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
and that's one thing my brother did convey to me, that like the movie is beautifully shot in Elvis. I'm gonna wait till that one comes on streaming service for me to go see. Like I said, I'm weird with biopic movies. But
yeah, I know we talked about that last week.
But The Great Gatsby like is beautifully shot. Like, I mean, it has such iconic scenes.
Yeah,
like the gif of him toasting.
Like, cheers, absolutely.
Yeah,
everybody
is like still used. Yeah, it's still used even now. And the movie came out like almost 10 years ago. But yeah, Wildfire. I'm thinking about maybe I might watch that tonight.
Windfall.
Cool. I will check that out.
Enjoyed it. Yeah.
And it was on Netflix, you say?
Yeah, it's a Netflix exclusive.
Cool. I will check that out. Like, my brother was actually talking about watching a movie tonight. So after we record, I might check it out tonight.
There you go.
But with that, we have a new segment. Want to tell everybody about it? So
yeah, I was at work yesterday and I was in the break room, and my coworker, my peer, one of my favorite people at the store, said something that like thoroughly disgusted me. Like, I was disgusted. And she said that Grease 2 was a great movie, and it was a lot of people's introduction to certain things. She said the songs were good. She even said, and she didn't say this fully, but she hinted or alluded that it might be better than the original Grease. And I would like to hear her defense of this. So we want to bring on our guest. This is Ashley. Ashley, welcome to Yumper and Svo.
Hello. Hi.
How are you?
Ashley?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. So before we get into the meat and potatoes, I want to give you the same treatment that we give everybody else. So I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
And I just want to see what your reactions are and how you feel. So, Ashley, what movie do you put on or watch when you are feeling down or sick or under the weather?
My favorite movie of all time, the one that always does the trick, is The Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz.
Believe it or not, I watch it every year on Christmas Eve.
Okay.
I don't know why it's not a Christmas movie, but it's the end of the holiday season, I think, on Christmas Eve. And it's, like with our job, it's very stressful around that time.
Absolutely.
So I know, like, when I'm watching The Wizard of Oz, that our stressful time is basically near the end, and I can finally relax for a little bit.
So it's funny that you say that, because we did an episode, was that 2 episodes ago now?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, because last week was movie villains, and the week before was our movie hot takes. And one of Yumper's hot takes is that Return to Oz is better than The Wizard of Oz.
See, this could easily be another like Grease 2. Like, The Wizard of Oz is so good, and I feel like Return to Oz could have been better had they just like tried a little bit harder.
I do not.
That's
agree.
just me.
I think Wizard of Oz is an all-time classic. It's a very good movie. I have like the poster. I have my mom's obsessed with it. Like, we grew up on it. Great movie. I just think that in terms of something that interests me as a person that's really into like horror and suspense, Return to Oz is something that like drew me more towards it. And I like the book, even though Swole hates it because he had to read it for school.
I got in some trouble.
But I actually liked the book and I actually liked the movie adaptation of it. So to me, I think it's just better than the original in that terms of it's creepy and like see her going back and it's not all this magical land. Now it's all like everything's broken up and you have all these crazy characters with the lady changes heads and the wheelers and all that stuff. That's something that kind of drew me towards it for being better, more enjoyable than the first one.
Yeah, I gotta go with Ashley on this one.
Of course you do.
So, all right. So Wizard of Oz is the movie that you put on when you're down or you're feeling sad. That's like your go-to movie. Ashley, what theater did you go to growing up? What was your favorite theater to go see a movie in when you were a kid?
I lived like 10 minutes from a Marcus theater. So I grew up going to Marcus theaters. I still, if I can, go to Marcus because I personally think that their pretzel bites are better than AMC.
Wow.
And I will die on that hill.
Wow.
I just think they give you more. They give you more for your money, and
so
they
what
last
Marcus?
longer in the theater.
What Marcus theater did you go to growing up?
It was in Orland Park, Illinois, so right off LaGrange Road.
Okay.
That's the one I go to.
I think it's LaGrange Road. Yeah, LaGrange Road. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a loyal AMC moviegoer. My first job as a 15-year-old in South Barrington, Illinois was I worked at the AMC South Barrington. I helped grand open that theater, and
Nice.
I still am very loyal to AMC. So you're wrong on that one, but it's okay. All is forgiven. What I think I
They're
asked
just pretzels. They're just pretzels. We can still be.
what movie do you remember, a movie that like the first movie that you got to go see like on your own, or like maybe like your parents dropped you off? Do you remember that?
I was so young. I can remember like wanting to see like Lindsay Lohan movies when I was growing up, or like if a band was like featured on the soundtrack of a movie, I would go see that movie. But I just recently treated myself to go see Spider-Man Far From Home, or No Way Home. No Way Home.
No Way Home.
I recently on impulse just decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna just buy a ticket and go at a midnight release, and it was a new form of therapy. Yeah, just by myself. I sat next to two complete strangers on both sides of me, and I just reacted to the film along with them, and it was an interesting new experience. But I'd do it again.
So Yumper and I have this talk, or not like debate, because it's not really a debate, but like I think going to the movies by yourself is almost like therapeutic.
It is,
right? Like you turn your phone off, and you the only thing in front of you is the movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. Okay. Well, with that being said, you had a take on a movie, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts. In the break room, you said that you love the movie Grease 2. So tell us why that you think Grease 2 is a good movie that gets shits on for no reason.
So I need to preface this by saying, oh, my cat is freaking out. I need to preface by saying I do not think it is better than Grease, the original.
Okay.
I do think it's a good movie, but not necessarily better. I just thought the music was like more fun, more relatable. Like for me, as like a young teenager watching this movie for the first time, I think seeing the roles reversed, where he's trying to get the attention of the girl the whole time versus like Sandy trying to adapt herself to kind of be cool with Danny Zuko and his friends.
Okay.
I just thought it was interesting to see that kind of flip. And Michelle Pfeiffer is like amazing, like cool writer, is in a playlist that I listen to regularly. And when it comes on shuffle, you know I'm turning it up, and I am literally belting out every single word. It's just,
what's the other one? A Girl for
oh my god, A Girl for All Seasons.
A Girl for All Seasons, right? Yeah.
That was like the big number they spent the whole like movie working on for this big talent show at the end of the year.
Okay.
And like it's a whole number about 4 seasons and all these girls and the costumes. The costumes I think were better in this movie than the original. They had a lot more detail and stuff to work with, but
wow, this is a hot take.
I feel like
jump in here?
I feel like not enough people have seen this movie or even know it exists, and it deserves a little bit of recognition.
Do you think that there's a reason why people haven't seen this movie?
No.
Because it's bad?
Because it's bad.
Yeah, all right. So I like how you said it's not better than Grease, because it isn't. My issue with the movie is it's basically Grease, the same story of Grease, but now it's just reversal of roles. So it's kind of like recycling, and I think they just try to capitalize on the popularity of Grease and just put out a different version of it. So I love Michelle Pfeiffer. I watched this movie once and I've never watched it again. that's all I can say. I went open minded and I watched it and I'm like, yeah, I'm never gonna watch that again.
I mean, I was telling Justin yesterday, like, I will buy this eventually. Like, when the bundle for both Grease and Grease 2 goes low enough in price on iTunes, I'm buying it. Because I think it's worth having.
I'm gonna be honest with you. They should give away copies of Grease 2 and not charge.
With the purchase of Grease.
Yeah.
You buy Grease, you get Grease 2 for free.
Look, we hate you this much that you're gonna buy Grease, so you're gonna get Grease 2 for free.
Come on. It's really not that bad. The song Reproduction. Come on.
Yeah, to be honest, this film had like such impact on me that I can't ever remember like any songs in it.
I'm pretty sure I had the soundtrack on CD. That's how like into it I was.
How old were you when this movie came out?
When did this movie come out? That's a good question. I'm sure I wasn't of like
this movie came out in 82.
I wasn't even born yet. So wow. I was born in 88. So
I was a year old when this movie came out.
Yeah.
So in like junior high, I started like getting into like drama and like plays and whatnot and trying out for the school play. So I started to learn a little bit about musicals. And my mom was like, well, have you seen Grease? I'm like, no. And I watched Grease and then I learned that there was a sequel and I'm like, well, I got to see the sequel.
So what you're saying is that Grease is a gateway musical to shittier musicals.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if there's a sequel, sometimes it's worth checking it out at least once. And for me, in my case, I liked it to the point where I would watch it again. And I still listen to the soundtrack. Okay, so what we're going to do, because a majority of our listeners here are from the Twitterverse, right? Like we have our following comes from Twitter. We're going to put a poll from our Twitter account. And we're gonna do a yay or a nay on Grease 2, and we're gonna see what the results are. I will post it when we're done recording. I'll send you the link, so you can keep track of the tabs. And we're gonna see what the majority of the people have to say. I feel like you also need a third option that just says "What is Grease 2?" with a question mark. So the third option in Twitterverse is like we call it GFY. So it's Grease 2 or GFY. Do you know what GFY means? I do not. It means go fuck yourself. Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's if you don't want to answer the question.
That's if you don't want to answer the question, right?
I am fully aware that I am in a small group of people that are with Grease 2 and enjoy it. So I will die on that hill as well. It's okay. I'll be on an island by myself, but
so
I like it.
In your defense, there are some shitty movies that I like and some shitty movies that Yumper likes that you can't tell me anything about. So I get it, right? That's the great thing about movies. It's not about if it's a good movie or not. It's about who you were with or what you were doing, where you grew up. So I think it's all subjective, right? So this movie means a lot to you. So like, who cares, right?
Right. I will die on this hill.
I like it. I
love Grease too.
Before I let you go, do you want to talk about something here? And I would like to get your train of thought here, because I know you and I know how passionate you are about Disney and Disney movies. What are your thoughts on the Disney movie Encanto?
I think, we talked about this earlier today. Of the 3 Disney movies that came out this year, or within the last like Oscar cycle,
okay,
it was Luca, right?
Yeah,
Turning Red and Encanto. Encanto is the most relatable for a wide demographic of people. I already see his face. He's like getting ready for his argument.
So I thought you made some excellent points when we had this discussion at work today. So why is it the most relatable of those 3?
It's a huge family, and no matter what like role you play in the family, I feel like you can find yourself relating to at least one member of that family. Okay. So no matter what, like, and you don't have to be, I think it's set in Colombia. You don't have to be Colombian. You don't have to be South American. I'm a Polish girl. I can relate to like two out of those family members in regards to some of the generational trauma that they portray in that movie, the struggles that families deal with, the pressures that families deal with. I just think overall that is a good, accurate depiction of family versus Luca is kind of about like, you know, cutting the cord a little bit and like loosening the grip on your kids, and Turning Red, which is a little bit about like becoming a woman. So not as many people can relate to those stories as broadly as Encanto.
I love that breakdown, but I know Yumper has something to say here.
I'm ready.
As far as relatable, no. As a Latino, like I understand the cultural aspect they were going for with, you know, the aspect of family, which is predominant in Latino culture as well as many other cultures. I understand that aspect of what you're trying to say, but my whole thing is the pressures of the family can be, you know, can be predominant in other, you know, ethnicities, you know, religions, whatever. But in this case, like there was no relatable character to me. I thought the grandmother, the matriarchal character of this family, was complete shit. I'll be honest with you. She was completely in my eyes, a bad character that we're supposed to sympathize with because she lost her husband, but yet she literally treats her granddaughter like trash because she didn't get a magical power. When I know she's supposed to be the outcast of the family, but she basically treats her like trash, and we're supposed to sympathize with the grandmother and accept that she's going to become a good person, which does not teach me anything or anybody watching anything. Second of all, just discarding the story, the music is horrible. Like there was no good music. The Bruno song is bad. I don't care what anybody tells me.
Man,
I watched this movie 3 times now because I watched the first time to give it a chance, and like I watched the second time to give it a chance. Then I watched it a third time because my son wanted to watch it. And even at the time, he wanted me to turn it off halfway because he didn't like the music. And he watches everything. He's been trying to watch it again, and I refuse to watch it. I think Coco is a better, in terms of Latin heritage and whatnot, is a better explanation of it. I know what Disney was going for. I just did not enjoy this movie at all. And people are going to argue with me. I just didn't enjoy it.
We know, and we know how you feel about it, and it's just a topic that I bust your chops on. But what did you say to me in the office today about the grandmother in the movie?
Well, you had mentioned that he is not a fan, Yumper, you're not a fan of the grandmother. And I said, because she's the villain of this story.
But she's not portrayed as the villain. She's portrayed as a matriarchal character.
Well, maybe she's not.
She takes care of
as like a traditional villain. It might not be traditional, but like the way that you can take it is that she's not a nice person. We know she's not a nice person. She's a terrible person.
Because I guarantee a handful of people are watching Mirabel and they're like, wow, I have a grandmother, an aunt, a mother, a matriarchal figure of my own who treats me the same way, like different than the rest of my siblings or cousins or things like that. And it's up to Mirabel, excuse me, our hero, our you know, protagonist of this story to break the generational kind of curse that this grandmother has been passing down on each generation of this family.
So you don't have to convince me. I'm a fan. I thought the music was good. Like, I can't tell you the last time that I heard like a Disney song.
Get out of here, dude.
No. Hear me out. We were in Vegas. Yumper and I were in Vegas with like our wives and our friends, and we got in an Uber to go downtown to Fremont Street. And we don't talk about Bruno was on like Kiss FM. Right. So I can't remember like how long it's been since that happened, but you also brought up another point about the music while we were talking today too. What was your other take on the music?
Oh gosh, what did I say about the music?
You said that, yeah, there was no Idina Menzel or like Elton John doing the music. So it didn't have a strong pop presence, but it still like the songs were still good.
Yeah. I think they were written by the same people who did Frozen, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive that the people who wrote the songs for Frozen also did Encanto. And I mean, yeah,
Jumper,
like I was saying.
Do you have some thoughts on Frozen?
I'm not a fan of Frozen.
Oh my God.
But that truly makes a lot of sense to me because Let It Go, Let It Go. I cannot stand that song.
Think of it like Let It Go. You've got Idina Menzel. Elton John did the soundtrack for Lion King. Tarzan, Phil Collins. Phil Collins didn't have to go that hard, you know.
You can't go against Phil.
Phil Collins.
Exactly.
Phil Collins did not have to go that hard.
Right. So you don't have this huge, like, big name of a pop star or like big voice singer on this soundtrack, but the songs themselves are still like you said, they're playing on the radio.
Yeah, no, I
And
thought that was a big deal.
But that doesn't mean anything because in this day and age, anything can play on the radio. I mean,
right,
you
like
have
they
mumble
play Red
rap
Hot
on the
Chili
radio.
Peppers on the radio, right?
No,
Like that's,
no. You first of all, Red Hot Chili Peppers in the Hall of Fame. Second of all, you have mumble rap on the where I literally listened to a song by a rapper, Lil Pump, where he says like 5 lines and
Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang.
people think
Gucci
it's
gang.
like the biggest, like, a hottest shit ever heard in their lives, and I'm like, this is garbage. So here, playing on the radio.
Yum, do you think that maybe, Yum, do you think that maybe, and I'm including myself in this, you think that maybe that we're just old? Like, and
Oh,
like,
I know I'm old.
I know, I get it. That's why I included myself in it.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I just think Disney just didn't miss the mark on this. I think Coco's I think Pixar did a better job.
I can feel your energy through the computer. I can feel I'm slowly starting to change your mind just a little bit with my arguments.
No, you're not.
Yeah,
No,
you can
I
feel
can
it.
feel it. I can feel it in your tone. I can see it on your face. Just a little bit. Your opinions are shifting, and you know what? That's okay. That's
No,
enough
they're
for
not
me.
shifting. I probably won't watch the movie again.
You've seen it already, so who cares?
Yeah, I won't watch it to give it a chance.
I might throw a curveball, and that's what we'll stream at our charity barbecue.
That's fine. I can drink and eat and not watch.
I digress. Ashley, you are an absolute blast to have on. Thank you for coming on and defending Grease 2. I don't know how well you defended it, but I will send you a link for the Twitter poll to see what they think. Thank you for talking in Kantu and talking about like growing up and going to the movies. We appreciate having you on.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thanks
And
so
my
much.
favorite Nick Cage movie is Moonstruck. If you haven't seen that, you need to.
Well, Moonstruck,
before
that's
he
a good call out.
It's before he got better looking. He had like really bad teeth and
But
and Cher's in it.
Here, before I let you go, is Moonstruck really a Nicolas Cage movie, or is it a Cher movie that Nicolas Cage happens to be in?
It's definitely a Cher movie that Nicolas Cage is in,
Yeah.
but it's still a Nicolas Cage movie.
All right.
That's
Well,
true.
Ashley,
He's like
thanks
one
for
of the main
coming on.
characters.
Yeah, he's not. Get out of
Thanks,
here.
guys.
No, thanks for coming
All right.
on. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Ashley.
you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, Swole. You love to
Grease
bust
too,
my
huh?
chops, huh?
Race too. Well, so I wasn't busting your chops, but I know that Ashley is a Disney fanatic. Like she knows everything, right? So I just wanted to see her take on a hot button issue that we talk about on Yumper and Svo.
Oh, I know. Everybody's open to their opinions. I'm just not going to become a fan.
Movies are
of it.
great, right? Like I don't
Yes.
even like the Coen brothers, right? So like
And that's the good thing about our podcast. We're not movie snobs. We just have
We're
a different
not.
taste.
we're not movie elitist at all.
So here's another apology to Fids. I'm sorry I didn't like your movie.
Oh yeah, Fitz is gonna be cranky when he.
We'll hear about it tonight or when he listens to this episode. But with that, well, let's go back in time. So we've noticed that when we do year in review movie years, we've been getting like a lot of good feedback from our Twitterverse and from friends and whatnot. They really enjoy these episodes. So we put together maybe doing the year 2000. And like I said, 2000 for me was probably one of the hardest years we've done outside of our movie draft in 93. But this is like, it had so many good bangers in this year that it was tough for me to like narrow it down just to my 5.
Let's go back in 2000. Your boy Svo was fresh out of high school with frosted tips and trying to hook up with any of the ladies that wanted to hang out that night, doing keg stands and partying with his boys. And I'm just kidding. I wasn't a movie nerd. I just watched movies and baseball and sports. I did the occasional keg stand, but 2000 was a good year. 2000 was a good year.
Yeah, a very good year. I was a sophomore in high school in 2000. No, was I? Yeah, 2000 when I was a sophomore in high school. So there's a lot of good movies that came out in 2000.
So I alternated here when I did the PowerPoint. I did your movie and I did my movie, and we finished with one of my movies because the villains, we finished with you last week, so you could get your Grandpa Joe hate out there.
Yes, and a lot of people agreed with me on that one.
So Yumper, let's get into is it my first take or your first take?
It would be my first take.
Let's get into your first take.
And you should see my Harry on television. We're giving the prizes away. I just wanted to be on the show.
Requiem for a Dream, directed by Aaron Aronofsky Aronofsky, thank you. Who also directed The Wrestler, Pie, Black Swan, and Mother. It's based on a 1978 book by the same name by Herbert Selby Jr. It stars Jared Leto, Marlon Wayans, Christopher McDonald, Jennifer Connelly, Keith David, and Ellen Burstyn. The movie had a box office of $7.4 million and on a $5.5 million budget. So not a huge hit, but the first thing that stands out to me about this movie from 2000 is the soundtrack. It was done by Clint Mansell.
The Kronos Quartet, right?
Yeah. And, the overture is just awesome. The violin strings, that has been remixed and remixed and remixed. There was actually one done for Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
The Two Towers, where they had samples from this movie's sound to that. It also, touches on a lot of subjects, addiction, and different types of addiction. You have Harry, who's Jared Leto's character, who is addicted to heroin. His girlfriend's addicted to heroin as well. And his best friend, Tyrone. And it talks about like their ambitions, how they want to get out, like Tyrone wants to get out of the ghetto. Harry and his girlfriend, Jennifer Connelly, want to start a business together. Harry's mother is, gets addicted to amphetamines because she wants to lose weight to appear on a TV show. Just things like that. It shows like different layers of addiction and different, consequences of your choices. Another great thing I like about this is that Marlon Wayans showed his acting chops. And if you're looking at the YouTube version of this, Flo has his Bret Hart glasses on right now. So he's blinded by the light, as I say. But Marlon Wayans does a great job, showing his acting chops. And here's more of a serious role. He does have some good one-liners in the movie, but it's like a more of a serious role. And I can't, overlook the great performance by Christopher McDonald as Tappy Timmons.
Tappy Timmons. Juiced by Tappy.
Yes, who does the motivational speaking. And I found out like he actually did all those scenes in one day and got a standing ovation from the crew and everybody after he was done. So tell me what you think about Requiem for a Dream.
First of all, Requiem for a Dream is not a movie that like a normal person says, my favorite movie is Requiem for a Dream. If you come home from work and you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to put on my favorite movie, Requiem for a Dream. You're someone that likes to kick puppies for fun, right? This movie is fucked up. This movie is messed up. I had never heard of this movie. I was visiting my best friend at school in Winona, and his roommate was this absolute, like, complete opposite of us, right? So my buddy Mike and I we just wanted to go out and we wanted to party. We wanted to drink beer and we wanted to do the normal college thing. And his roommate was this tall vegan film major, and he would fall asleep listening to the Kronos Quartet soundtrack from Requiem for a Dream. So I heard this soundtrack before I even like saw this movie, but I was intrigued, right? Because I know Darren Aronofsky and I knew Pie. And I went to Ford City and picked up the book, and I read Hubert Selby's book before I saw this movie. And this is one of those rare instances where the movie is just as good as the book. The Taffy Timmons character is not in the book at all. He is not a real character in the movie. This was made up specifically for the movie. The only thing that is different, like for me at least, is I think that they talk more in depth about the heroin addiction in the book than they do in the movie. It was kind of, it wasn't glossed over because they focus on it, but it was more about Marion's relationship with Jared Leto's character and Marlon Wayans' relationship with Jared Leto's character. And then the constant, like, having to get his mom's TV out of pawn. It was just a sad story. But Darren Aronofsky killed this movie. I loved it so much, but I hate it. It makes me feel a certain way, like I'm depressed when I'm done watching it. And I know it's hard to take me seriously talking about it right now because of the Bret Hart glasses. But this movie is jacked up, and it is not a fun watch, but it's fantastic. It's a fantastically made movie.
Yeah, and just reading the comments from like on IMDb, when you go through there, you can see people commenting and rating it. People are like, "Great movie. I hated it. I hated like watching it because it made me feel so squeamish." And it's, the director actually, that was his message. That's what he wanted to show, like the addiction process and like how bad things can happen and consequences of thing. And I found it really hilarious that in the movie they never say heroin.
No, it's skag. They call it skag throughout the movie.
Or he says pure. He always says pure.
Yeah, they need to get a pound of pure. But it's man, like I don't even know how to describe how I hate this movie, but I love the way it was done. This movie is depressing and it's beautiful, and the music is gorgeous, and
Just even
if you get a chance, read Hubert Selby's book. He also wrote Last Exit to Brooklyn, which is a fantastic read. And it's really, really well done. Both of them are really well done. He's in the movie for a short period of time. He's a prison guard that is making Marlon Wayans do work in the prison, and he's like making fun of him while he's like going through withdrawals.
Yeah, he's turning the oatmeal.
Yeah,
the oatmeal or grits. And even just like a scene that sticks out to me is when he when the shootout happens and he runs away, the way he has the body camera on.
Yep.
And him screaming with the blood on his face. Like
that first person camera was very, very it was cutting edge and innovative at the time. They put it on Jennifer Connelly when she was coming out of she had to have sex with her therapist to get money for dope. And they put it on her and they show her vomiting in the first person. And it doesn't make you feel good.
No, it puts through a lot of emotions. Also Keith David's in this movie, and I'm a big fan of Keith David.
Yeah, he plays Big Tim?
Yeah, he's her pimp.
He's not a pimp because she doesn't she just does strip shows, but he's like a dealer that he doesn't sell drugs. He just gives them up to hook up with girls. Yeah. He's that's the best way for me to describe it.
He's not a good character.
He's not a good character.
But a very powerful movie, and when going through the list, this is one that always will stick out to me.
I had a hard time not putting it on my top 5, and I decided not to just because of how it makes me feel. This movie sticks with you, and it makes me feel like shit.
Yeah, it's a great movie in my opinion. I think this movie is probably Jared Leto's best performance.
This and Morbius, yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, but it's a movie that I will watch very seldomly because of the impact it has. It doesn't make you want to feel good. No. And
like I said, you kick puppies for fun if this movie makes you feel good.
But it's a powerful movie. And I recommend, if you haven't seen it, watch it at least one time and hate me for watching it and for the feeling it makes you feel. But I mean, I think it's perfectly put, the struggles of everything we mentioned. But with that, so let's get to yours.
Alan, you're in. Come on.
All right. Now, I don't want them to gain another yard.
You blitz all night. If they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm going to take every last one of you out. You make sure
They remember forever the night they played the Titans.
Remember the Titans, directed by Boaz Yakin, who also directed Fresh, which is another great classic from, I think, 92. He wrote The Punisher, the Dolph Lundgren one, Prince of Persia, Now You See Me, and The Harder They Fall, which is a nice little Western. This movie stars Denzel Washington, Will Patton, Wood Harris, Hayden Panettiere, a young Ryan Gosling, and Donald Faison. This movie had a box office of $138 million on a $30 million budget. Well, tell me why this is one of your top movies of 2000.
I mean, first of all, the message in this movie is fantastic, right? It's very, I don't know, I want to say cliche, where it's like, hey, if we just put aside our differences, we can get along. But in reality, that's the fucking thing, right? We're no different than anybody else. And it's, how do I say this, Yump? Sorry, I'm going to switch back to my normal glasses here because I can't see with the Bret Hart glasses on. People ask me all the time, why do you love sports? And as much as you do, right? Because besides movies like sports, you and I talk about this all day. Like, sports are my favorite thing in the whole world, right? And people ask me why, and I'm like, I met my best friend in this entire world because of Little League Baseball, right? And we love football and we love basketball. And we spent years playing 21 and one on one. Like, sports brings people together. And this movie is the perfect example of why sports brings people together. It doesn't matter who you are or what color your skin is or if you're the fat guy, right? Because Ethan Suplee's in this movie. And this is before Ethan Suplee got buff and shit, right? Like, you can be who you want on a part of a team, and it doesn't matter. Sports are inclusive and they're for everybody. And this movie was the perfect example of that. And I love this movie. Also, this movie makes me think of my aunt who loved this movie and hanging out with my cousins and watching this movie. It was a VHS movie when we watched it. It wasn't on DVD. But it's a cliche Disney football movie, but I love it. It's perfect. How do you feel about it?
Totally agree with you. And like, I know this is some would consider a sports movie, but I think it was more of Disney was trying to push the message of, the struggles back then and the understanding of things you don't know. Segregation was something that was going on at this time, integration of, whites and African Americans, all this is based off a true story. And, Herman Boone actually did integrate the buses before they even left. That was, that's a true story of how he got everybody to integrate, and then they roomed together when they left. That was a cool little tidbit I learned. It's a very powerful message. I think that's why when you see this football scene, the action is nice in there, but it's played by rock music because they were afraid that people will lose interest in the sports scenes, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it's a powerful message. I love Denzel. Will Patton's a great actor.
I'm also
as well.
a Denzel stan, and I love Will Patton as well. He's probably one of my favorite parts of Armageddon. I love the way he acts. He's also he was the one that looked at him dead in the eyes when the group rose up and said, "Evil dies tonight." He was a sheriff. He was a sheriff in Halloween Kills.
Yes, he was, and he gets yeah. Oh my god, that just threw me off. But this movie, damn it, Swell. This movie is very good.
Come on, that was a good one. That was a good one this week.
I should have thought about that too because he is in that movie. I should have been prepared for that one. For those who don't know,
you needed that laugh tonight.
Yeah, buddy. I do go through research for these little films, little tidbits. Not to be too nerdy about it, but I should have picked that up right when I was going through my research for it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Swell. But yeah, remember the Titans. It's a great motivational speaking movie too, as well. To acceptance of everybody. Also, hard work pays off. A lot, like I said, this is based off a true story. So a lot of the characters in the movie are actually real life. Sunshine was a real life character.
Sunshine and Donald Faison.
Donald Faison, yeah, I think he was a real character. And it's nice. It's a fun movie, and I think
great cast,
like perfectly cast for it. And I think it's pretty funny that like Ryan Gosling's in there.
My wife hadn't seen this movie till we were already married, and we were already we were living on the north side in our apartment in Edgewater. Mm-hmm. And one day, I think I called off work and I watched it, and she was like, "Holy shit, how have I never seen this before?" And she was bawling like a baby.
It's very impactful. I mean, and it sends a good message, and like I said, Denzel, I'll watch anything Denzel's in.
I will too. Like, I don't care.
Like, Denzel could be taking a shit and I'll watch it. If he wants to film it, I'll watch it. Like, it's just like, he's such a great actor.
I don't know about that, but I'm with you.
I'm just a big Denzel stan. Like, I think he's like one of the greatest actors of our generation. If not all time.
I mean, I'm with you. Before we get into your pick, because I don't want to shit on your pick, and I want to give it your pick, the respect it deserves. But did you see the news somewhat breaking? Ben Affleck will return as Batman and Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom.
No, I did not.
Batfleck is back, baby.
So what does this mean for Robert Pattinson?
This is a completely different universe. This will have nothing to do with it, with no impact on it at all.
Do you think they're kind of like stretching everything thin now? Like,
I think that DC has no idea what they're doing with these properties.
but even I know this is not part of the subject, but even with Marvel, like there's talks of another Spider-Man coming out with Andrew Garfield, and
well, I think No Way Home gave some people it gave some redemption stories to some people that didn't get to finish telling their story. I hated the second Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man 2. I hated it. It was terrible. Jamie Foxx is one of the worst movie villains in a movie I've ever seen. He got a little bit of redemption in No Way Home, right?
Yeah, he also hated being blue.
Andrew Garfield got some redemption in No Way Home, right? And people think that maybe with the right writers, I don't know if Sony has the talent to do it, but with the right people, then maybe they get to tell their story, and it's not quite done yet. Like, would you pay money to go see another Tobey Maguire Spider movie?
For Tobey Maguire, if Sam Raimi's back, yes.
Yeah, I know you love Sam Raimi. Speaking of, when we talk tomorrow, remind me to go to Best Buy when I get out of work tomorrow and pick up Multiverse of Madness.
We'll do, sir. We'll do. All right, but let's get into my pick.
86 carats.
Where?
London.
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 London?
Yes, London. You know, fish, chips, cup of tea, bad food, worse weather, Mary fucking Poppins, London.
Snatch, directed by Guy Ritchie, who also directed Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, the Sherlock Holmes series with Robert Downey Jr., and Revolver. This movie,
Gentleman.
Yes, The Gentleman. This movie also stars Brad Pitt, Stephen Graham, Dennis Farina, Benicio del Toro, and Jason Statham. It had an $83 million box office on a $10 million budget. Now, the reason this is on my top of 2000, this is one of the first movies that introduced me to who Guy Ritchie was. I remember seeing this movie and hearing Brad Pitt's fucking accent was awesome. And I found it's crazy, so because I found that after Brad Pitt saw Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, he wanted to work with Guy Ritchie really bad. And he called Guy Ritchie because he heard he was working on Snatch. And Guy Ritchie told him, yeah, we got a role for you. When he really didn't have a role for him. He wrote the role of Mickey in there for him.
Yeah.
And he wanted Brad Pitt's character to have a London accent. And Brad Pitt couldn't get it correctly the way Guy Ritchie wanted. So he changed it into a gypsy. Which it's crazy because if you watch it, Brad Pitt's dialect, the way he talks, you can barely understand what he's saying half the time. It's so greatly done. Also has Dennis Farina, who I love, Benicio del Toro, who I love. And it has a young Stephen Graham. This is Stephen Graham's like breakout film. And
absolutely. I'm so happy that you mentioned Stephen Graham. There's another name in there that I want to talk about when you get a chance.
Sure. But yeah, Stephen Graham, we know him from The Irishman. He played Tony Pro. Boardwalk Empire. He played Al Capone.
Oh, yeah.
A phenomenal Welsh actor. Heavy accent, but does a great American accent. Phenomenal actor. I really like this movie. I love some of the music in here, especially when they're chasing the rabbit. Disco Mars, I think it's called.
Yeah.
It's just it's a beefier version of Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Great crime story. This movie to me is probably Guy Ritchie's best, besides his first movie he came out with. And I love all the characters in it. It reminds you of a lot of like what can go wrong now kind of comedy in a serious plot line, which is done perfectly. And I love the cast. What about you, Swell?
I agree. I'm glad that you said that you love the cast. There's a name that I absolutely love. His name is Vinnie Jones. Vinnie Jones is in this movie, but Vinnie Jones plays one of my favorite like minor roles in a movie in I don't remember what year it came out, but Eurotrip. When the two kids from the States, Scotty and their buddy, stumble into a Manchester United bar in London, and Vinnie Jones is one of the soccer hooligans, and he's like, well, if you're a Manchester United fan, what's their song? And Scotty just starts singing, my baby takes the morning train. And it's one of the funniest things. They end up getting like hammered in the pub and take the bus to see like a friendly with Italy, and they get off the bus and they're like, it's those damn Italians. But Vinnie Jones is fantastic. Also, Ewan Bremner is in this movie. Ewan Bremner was in, I think he was Sick Boy in Trainspotting, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. The cast is just unreal. Brad Pitt is fantastic. Jason Statham is not a full Fast and the Furious douche yet. I love this movie. I think the first time I saw this movie, I was blown away. The other movie that makes me like, they're not the same, but when I watch this one, I want to watch that one too, and you can't find it anywhere, is Green Street Hooligans.
I've never seen that.
Whoa!
Really?
So, I totally off topic, but like I think we've all blown Snatch enough, right? Right. So Green Street Hooligans is Elijah Wood and Charlie Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy, and he's in The Gentleman as well. But Elijah Wood is this kid from Harvard that gets kicked out of school, and he has to go visit his sister in London. And his sister is married to this dude, and his brother is Charlie Hunnam, and he's like the leader of this gang in London. And they go to these soccer matches and they get in fights. It's like real gang shit in London. Green Street Hooligans is absolutely fantastic and one of my favorite movies. But Snatch makes me think of it.
Really, I'm looking at it right now. I might have to check this out. The Elijah Wood's one of those characters that like I cannot stop seeing him as Frodo.
As Frodo, Yumper, I'm telling you, I promise you, if you do not like Green Street Hooligans, honestly, if you don't like it, I will never bring up Encanto or I will never quote Evil Dies Tonight again on an episode.
If I don't like it, okay.
If you don't like it.
So you're telling me
you got to be honest with me. You can't just say you don't like it just for the sake of saying you don't like it.
No, I will. I gotta see where I can find this, but I would definitely check this
anywhere. You might have to I might have to just let you borrow the DVD because you can watch it on YouTube.
Oh, I can. You can. No, that's Scott Edson from movie. Well, I can see if I can find it. I'll look for it after on air. But yeah, I will definitely check that out. It looks very interesting.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and like you said, Jason Statham is pre, Hobbs and Shaw, pre Fast and the Furious. I actually enjoy him as a more serious actor. To be honest with you.
Yeah. I agree with you.
I think he's very talented. And Dennis Farina, Chicago boy. Even though he plays a Jewish
Farina
guy
in The Untouchables, the TV series.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, he's from Little Big League.
Yeah.
Law and Order.
Reindeer Games.
Reindeer Games. Yep. He's a former Chicago cop.
So Reindeer Games almost made the list. Like we had this conversation last night. Reindeer Games is a movie that I absolutely love, but
yeah, I was surprised it wasn't on here. But we'll get to your next one.
So basically, you have
Jim, Jack, Johnny Red, Johnny Black, and Jose, all my favorite men. You can have it any way you like, as long as it's in a shot glass.
Coyote Ugly, directed by Kevin McNally, who's known for Kangaroo Jack. It has an uncredited writing done by Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith.
It stars Piper Perabo, Adam Garcia, Maria Bello, Tyra Banks, Leanne Rimes, and John Goodman. This movie had a budget of $45 million and had a box office of $113.9 million. So, Swell, tell me why Coyote Ugly is one of your favorite movies from 2000.
All right, yeah. Let's not beat around the bush here. This movie came out in 2000. Svo was an 18-year-old. The soundtrack was good, and the girls were hot, and they're in wet t-shirts. That's why I like this movie. I'm not going to pretend like it's some great cinematic masterpiece. It's a fun story. I just like this movie, and I can't help it, and I won't apologize for it.
It makes me laugh because when I saw the PowerPoint and you had this one on there, I'm like, it's probably because of Piper Perabo or Tyra Banks. Now, I was a big fan of Piper Perabo. I still think she's like gorgeous. And Tyra Banks is a supermodel, so I can understand that. This movie gives me a lot of a better Showgirls without all the nudity.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't take itself seriously like Showgirls try to. There's she dances on the bar to Third Eye Blind, and she dances to Kid Rock's Cowboy, and Don Henley's All She Wants to Do Is Dance. I think that the soundtrack is just. I think that's fun. It was a summer movie to go sit in the air conditioning for an hour and a half. My wife likes it because it takes place in New Jersey, where her parents and her grandparents are from. So, just a stupid, boring, like a stupid, goofy, like romantic comedy, whatever you want to call it. But I like it, and it'll always have a soft spot. I probably saw this in the theater 7 times, but I worked in the theater.
Okay, I like how you had that caveat, but I worked there.
I was working at the theater, and I would just like, I'm done working for today. I'm gonna go see a movie.
Yeah, just like you said, it depends on how the movie. Like we talked about this earlier, like how the movie makes you feel. Like,
yeah,
what were you doing in this? I understand that. Like, I did find it funny when I was doing research for this that John Goodman came out and said, "Yeah, I just did this movie for money."
He was funny in this movie. I liked him.
Yeah, I love John Goodman, but it's just it cracked me up. The bar was open in '93 in New York, like, and they have a chain of them. I think
there was a chain of them for a long time. Yeah,
I don't know if they still have. Is there still one in the Chicagoland area?
I don't think there's one in Chicago, but I do think that there's one. Maybe when Fids listens, I think there's one in Vegas.
Yeah. So cool. I mean, corny movie, and I can understand why I like it. So if you agree with that, let Swole know at his Twitter at Doughboy Swole. But let's get to our next one.
Got it all wrong, holy man. I absolutely believe in God. And I absolutely hate the fucker.
Pitch Black, directed by David Twohy, who also directed The Arrival and the Gredic series, and he wrote some horror classics as Warlock, Critters 2. He wrote Waterworld and The Fugitive, movie, as well as G.I. Jane. Starring Vin Diesel, Rhoda Mitchell, Cole Hauser, and my man Keith David. This movie had a budget of $23 million. It had a box office of $53.2 million. Now, this movie, I guess, arguably could be the launching of Vin Diesel's career. After this movie came out, he got popular as hell, and then eventually another movie he was working on, The Fast and the Furious, came out. And I know our good friend of the show, Richard Roper, hates the sequels of The Fast and the Furious in that franchise. But I mean, the first few were okay in terms of action. It just got ridiculous as it kept going on. The Riddick series, I actually really enjoyed. This movie, I think, is the best of the three because it gives you at least his character ambiguous. Like you don't really know too much about him. I love horror movies, and this is like a sci-fi horror movie, suspenseful. You have a nice little thing, a caveat added that the creatures cannot be in light.
Yep.
And then you have the anti-hero become the hero at the end. So I really like this movie. I did find it hilarious that when Vin Diesel had the contacts on, they were prototypes. And the first day wearing them after shooting, they couldn't get them off. So he had to wait 3 hours for an optometrist to fly out to actually pull them off his eyes. He calls them the hubcaps. So, I mean, that's crazy. But I really enjoyed this movie. It's it's not like a top classic, but it's a good, enjoyable movie.
Yeah, I remember, like, once again, this was a period when I was working at the movie theater as a teenager, and like I remember going to see it, and I remember like that the monsters couldn't be in the light, and I remember them attaching to the side of the ship, and I remember he was a prisoner, right, and he had to help them. I enjoyed it. It was good. It was fun. I don't know if I'd ever rewatch it, or I don't think I've ever seen the Chronicles of Riddick or Riddick. But it was fun. I like it.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, doing research on this, Vin Diesel's character was actually originally supposed to die. It wasn't Carolyn. Carolyn was supposed to live. And he was so intrigued with the character, he asked the writers to change it, which then spawned sequels, which usually happens. But I thought it was a different take on certain things. I mean, they show the 3 stages of the monsters. I think when they're larvae and they actually are luminescent. They show them flying around, and then they show them as the adult creatures. I thought it was a nice little callback. It kind of reminded me like of homage to Alien, I guess, with different attributes added to the creatures. But I mean, it's an enjoyable movie. Like, it's not something I sought out, like I seek all the time to watch. But if it's on, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
But with that, well, let's get to your next film.
So either we hang out here for a few days until it calms down.
Cap, we got 60,000 pounds of fish here. What, are we gonna let it spoil and feed it to the birds?
Yeah, I thought we were gonna set the market, man, make a killing.
Or we say the hell with it. We drive right through it.
The Perfect Storm, directed by Wolfgang Peterson, who also directed A Never-Ending Story, Outbreak, Troy, Poseidon. And this movie is adapted from the book of the same name by Sebastian Junger. It's based off a true story, and it stars George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, John C. Reilly, Diane Lane, and William Fichtner. This movie had a box office of $328 million on a $120 million budget. Well, tell me why this is one of your favorites.
I think the cast speaks for itself, right? Like, this was before Mark Wahlberg still was, he was a star, but he wasn't the star that he had become. George Clooney was at the height of his, stardom. John C. Reilly's fantastic. Diane Lane is like, first of all, Diane Lane will never not be hot to me. But the special effects are cool. The waves are massive. The story hits it's touching. It's sad. I really like this movie. What else did Wolfgang Peterson direct?
He directed The Never-Ending Story.
What movie?
The Never-Ending Story.
Never-Ending Story.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that we.
That's what I was getting at.
No, but that's funny to say that because we just played a side note. We just played a game yesterday. Jen, myself, and my brother, and you had to act out. It's a blockbuster movie game. You have to act out certain movies, and I had to do that one. And I'm like, I had to do that song for Jen for her to get it.
Can I play that with you guys?
Definitely. We're actually going to bring it to the barbecue.
Nice.
So
nice.
Be a nice little fun game.
No, I think that this cast is great. I love this movie. I think this whole summer of 2000 was just like fantastic movie after fantastic movie. Yeah, I don't even know how else to describe this movie. Small town. What is it? Gloucester.
I believe so. Yes.
The Andrea Gale is the name of the boat, and also Christopher McDonald is in it too. He's the weatherman.
Yes, he is,
and he's the one that realized, like, if these storms hit, like, this could be the storm of the century, the perfect storm. Like, no pun intended. Like, I love this movie. I think my dad read the book before the movie came out, and he wanted to go see it. I think we might have seen it together. But just a great movie.
And I find it interesting too, just seeing research on this, that the only character in the movie that didn't exist in real life was Big Red, Irene.
Irene?
Yeah, she's the only character that was fictionalized for the movie.
He's like, I wish it was night so I could say goodnight, Irene. And then she flirts with him. She's like, well, that'll come after.
Yeah. Mark Wahlberg actually stayed in the real Bobby Shatner's room above the crow's nest. He actually stood there while filming the movie, which I thought was pretty cool.
Really?
It's a sad movie. I mean, for Captain Billy, they wanted Mel Gibson, who wanted too much money, and they wanted Harrison Ford, and it just didn't work out with Harrison Ford. And George Clooney actually wanted another role in the film, and they gave him, Captain Bill. And I thought he knocks it out of the ballpark in here. Like, there's certain movies that I think that certain people are perfect for, and I think he was perfect for this movie. And like you said, Mark Wahlberg was just up and coming at this time.
Yeah.
And this just, kind of added to his profile as an actor, and kind of propels him.
Hold on, let me see if I can look it up. What's his name? I know his name. Alan Payne is in this movie too.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a Jamaican accent. And then there's a scene in the movie where what's his name? Bugsy says like Ma asks him if he wants a beer, and Alan Payne goes, "No thanks, Ma." And Bugsy, who's like just this clown, goes, "Psh, I don't even talk no good English."
Yeah, John Hawkes. it has like great characters in here. Like you have like Alan Payne. You have Bob Gooten, the warden from Shawshank. He's in here. Michael Ironside.
Michael Ironside, yeah.
Another good character actor. You know, just like little like you said, Christopher
William
McDonald's in
Finkter.
here.
William Finkter's fantastic.
Yeah, William Finkter's awesome. You know, yeah, Sully. It's a nice little cast ensemble, and it kind of crazy that this movie cost $120 million in 2000. Like, so I'm guessing most of the CGI for the storms, I'm assuming, cost them.
That would be my guess.
But yeah, it's a sad ending. But from people who have, you know, maybe you could tell me a little better with your dad, so. But from people who've read the book that I've talked to, they said the movie actually does a nice little tribute to the book.
I think so. Like, I think it does it justice. I'll have to ask, but like, I just, man, like, such a good movie.
Yeah, a very good movie. And you kind of feel for, you know, Bill, as he's the reason why he's doing what he's doing is because, you know, he's had some bad catches and wants to like capitalize on everything.
He wants to capitalize, so they go further out than they've ever been. What was it called?
I forget the exact spot, but I did find it funny that all the fish in the movie were rubber.
Really?
Yeah, they were not real. They're all rubber.
I just think the movie's good. The thick Boston accents don't bother me.
No. And that's the reason why Mark Wahlberg was chosen by George Clooney personally. Was asked, you know, he asked the director to bring him on.
I know he gets a lot of shit, but I like Mark Wahlberg movies. I don't mind Mark Wahlberg movies.
No, I don't. I actually don't have any issues with Mark Wahlberg's movies. I think he can do action and comedy pretty well.
I think he's made some shit movies, and I wish he would read his scripts better and maybe like step back from like the, you know, the espionage, like spy shit, like, or like, you know, stuff like that. But like, he was really freaking good in Father Stew.
The Fighter,
he was fantastic in.
Fear. He shows that, you know, he shows different side of him.
You know how
Ted,
I feel about
comedy.
Fear.
Yeah, Ted. You know, Four Brothers.
He was hilarious. Four Brothers was fantastic.
Dingham.
Rest in peace, John Singleton.
Yeah, probably his most famous role, Dingham from The Departed. Got nominated for an Oscar for that.
Or what? So, would you say that's his most famous role, or would you say Dirk Diggler?
Dirk Diggler, I think, is what got him started, and that's probably was his like a great role for him. That like shined a light on him. I think Fear kind of like set the pathway, and Dirk Diggler kind of like propelled him, and then that Dirk Diggler role got him The Perfect Storm, which propelled him even higher. So I think that's the one that started him. But then, you know, when he did The Departed, working with Marty, got nominated for Oscar, and you were completely hilarious in the movie as well as a serious asshole.
He had the best line in the whole movie.
he had a lot of good lines in that movie. Like,
he had the best line in the whole movie. He's like, "Who the fuck are you? I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy."
Or my favorite line is when he says, "I treat feds like
treat informants like I treat mushrooms.
Yeah,
keep them in the dark and feed them shit."
Yes, and like that. And then he had a horrible movies like Max Payne, which ruined, you know, my favorite video games adaptation.
What was that movie he made with Lou Diamond Phillips?
Oh, The Big Hit. That's a big hit. That's a guilty pleasure of mine.
It's a guilty pleasure of mine too.
Yeah, he. Oh man, Mark Wahlberg movies. He just goes all over the place. But I think he, you know, his movies are pretty enjoyable for the most part.
I think maybe we might have to do a deep dive on his career at some point.
That would be actually a good episode.
Yeah.
But with that, dude, let's get to our next film.
Yeah, let's get to your next movie.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
Oh, yeah, you can milk anything with nipples.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Meet the Parents, directed by Jay Roach, who also directed the Austin Powers series and the subsequent sequels, Meet the Fockers. He also directed Dinner for Schmucks and The Campaign. This movie starts the great Robert De Niro, Ben Stiller, Terry Polo, Blythe Danner. I don't know if I said her name correctly. It's a little difficult. And Owen Wilson. Yeah. Movie had a budget of $55 million and made a whopping $330 at the box office. This movie I really love. I was going through this one and The Replacements with Keanu Reeves because I really liked that movie. Different take on football.
Yeah.
But this one beat that out because, for one, it has arguably, anybody can argue, top 3 actor ever, and definitely of our generation, Robert De Niro. And this is when Robert De Niro started to get into his comedy phase, which he still kind of does today. But these are like, Robert De Niro was always like a serious role actor, method actor. And after Analyze This, he started doing comedy.
Yeah.
And this is the follow-up to his Analyze This, film. and it was Meet the Parents. And there's just so many memorable lines from this. You know, the milking, the milking of the kittens. You know, I'll tell you, Danny, who smokes the Puff Magic Dragon. Yeah, it's you're going down. You're going down in Chinatown. You know, stuff like that. The Circle of Trust. Mr. Jinx, you know, Owen Wilson's character.
The volleyball scene.
Volleyball scene where he just murders the ball and like breaks the girl's nose. You know, you're crazy, Fokker. The name Greg Fokker, and they actually had to find somebody with the name Fokker to be used.
Yeah.
The MPAA told him you can't use Fokker. And they actually went out and found a person with the name Fokker, which is the same thing in Meet the Fokkers. They had to find somebody, a real family by that name. You know, it has such memorable things in it. It's a great, I think it's like one of the best comedies like I've seen, like just for like at the time, not even at the time, it's like one of my favorite comedies to watch.
Yeah, I think like you hit it head on, right? Like it's a movie that you could put on and watch with anybody, right? You want to watch it with your grandma while you're around Sunday dinner, you could put it on. It's funny. It's not obscene. I remember going to see it. I moved to Las Vegas, and we lived down the street at like Tropicana and Decatur, like right down the street from the Orleans, and the Orleans had a movie theater in it. And I walked over to the Orleans to see it. So Finns will get this reference when he listens to this episode. But I laughed my ass off in the theater seeing this movie. I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me? Like just the straight face that De Niro delivers it. Really fantastic movie. And Jay Roach, you know, the Austin Powers movies and everything that he's done. This movie's iconic. Like
definitely, like definitely the lie detector scene.
Oh my God.
That's like comedy gold there. I mean, and then at the end when he's looking at the cameras that he set up, do I think you're psycho, Jack? Yes. Just my brother and me quote this like some like, you know, every once in a while. It's just it has like such memorable lines, and Robert De Niro just shows off his acting talent, you know, again, like how he can just he's so versatile. And like I said, this is like when he was starting to go into comedy more, and he took it seriously. And I actually read like he was so dedicated to this role that like because he's a method actor, he wanted to train Jinx himself. But they told him like it's gonna take months like for you to train the cat.
The cat, yeah.
And he's like, okay, so he would bring treats for the cat on set, so the cat would spend more time with him, so they can develop a bond. Like, that's how dedicated he is.
Jinxie cat, I love you. Yes, it's true. I love this movie, man.
I do. I love it too. I mean, it's hilarious. I just love the fact that Jinx pisses in the toilet and shits in the toilet.
I don't even do that sometimes.
But yeah, it's a classic, man.
Iconic. Yeah.
But so let's get to your next film.
Oh man, you made friends with them. See, friendship is the booze they feed you. They want you to get drunk and feel like you belong.
Well, it was fun.
Because they make you feel cool. And hey, I met you. You are not cool.
Almost Famous, directed by Cameron Cole, who also wrote Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Jerry Maguire, Vanilla Sky, and Say Anything. It stars Billy Crudup, Kate Hudson, Jason Lee, Patrick Fugit, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. This movie had a $60 million budget and only made $47.4 at the box office. Well, tell me why this is one of your favorite movies of 2000.
Did you say $60 million budget?
Yes.
And it only made 47?
Yeah.
So this movie lost money at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
That's a shame because this movie is, to me, it's perfection like personified, right? Like Cameron Crowe wrote this movie based on his life, right? He wrote articles for Rolling Stone, and I don't know if it's ever been confirmed, but I think that the band that he followed around was the Eagles.
I think so. I think it was the Eagles, yeah, for Rolling Stone, I believe.
So the Eagles, and I'm gonna get shit from all you Big Lebowski Coen brothers nerds, like, because that's the shit I hate about the Big Lebowski, where he's like, I fucking hate the Eagles, right? Like, man, fuck that, dude. Fuck Jeffrey Lebowski and his Eagles hate. The Eagles are an amazing band, and this movie was kind of based on them and Cameron Crowe's experience. And this is like my father's era of music, and I grew up listening to my father's music. And there's so many good like references to like Led Zeppelin, and there's a Greg Allman and Cher, like not a cameo, but like they allude to Greg Allman and Cher recording in the hotel. And the songs are fantastic, like Fever Dog from Stillwater, and Penny Lane is like, she's not a groupie, she's a Band-Aid. Um, I love this movie. I love the soundtrack. I love the movie poster. I think this is like an absolutely brilliant movie poster. But I also love, I shouldn't say everything, but I love almost everything Cameron Crowe has done. I didn't, Aloha does not count, and We Bought a Zoo does not count. But Say Anything and Vanilla Sky, I am a defender of. That would be a good in defense of like for me, like Vanilla Sky, but the cast is brilliant. There are some iconic scenes like I am a golden god on the roof in Topeka, Kansas, before he jumps into the pool, and Tiny Dancer on the tour bus after a night of dropping acid. I think this movie is beautiful, and it's sad, and it's happy, and the story between Frances McDormand and Zoe Deschanel, like the mother daughter story, is beautiful. Where they it comes full circle and they figure it out. Yeah, I don't know like if the words that I can speak will fully describe how I feel about Almost Famous. Like the ranking that I did these movies, or the order that I put these movies in, don't define how I rank them, because I love this movie. It's one of my like favorite movies of all time. How do you, like, Yumper? I'm rambling. How do you feel about it?
No, totally agree. And like the same thing on my list. It's not like my 1 through 5. It's just movies that I enjoyed from this year. It's really hard to put a 1 through 5 on this. And Almost Famous is a great movie. Stillwater, the band that's in fictional bands, and those people actually rehearsed for 4 hours a night, 5 times a week, just to get, the ambiance of a real band look. This film had a lot of good things. Like I was reading, like most budgets for films have like $1.5 million for songs. This film had over 50 songs, and the budget was 3.5 million. Stuff like that. Stillwater's songs were written by fucking Peter Frampton.
Yeah,
The guitarist Mike McCready from
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam was the guitarist on all the songs. He played the riffs. Like, and then Russell Hammond, Billy Crudup's character, I Am a Golden God, that has been parodied in so many movies. The Rocker,
Entourage,
Rainn Wilson, Entourage. It was parodied in by Russell Brand in Get Him to the Greek.
Get Him to the Greek.
Like, it's such an iconic scene, and the fact that it didn't make money at the box, it surprised me when I read that. But sometimes movies are just released, at the wrong time, and I think this movie, at the time it was released, it didn't have enough traction to where. But now it's like finally it's getting recognized for the art that it is. And Cameron Crowe is such a great writer. Everybody fell in love with Cameron Crowe with Fast Times. It's showing the life of a high schooler. He's so good at evolving, and this is like more of a personal story of his, how he started with Rolling Stones. Cameron Crowe was a prodigy.
Yeah,
he is the character. Like, he was extremely bright, and he did all. He was writing for Rolling Stone. He was 16, which is ridiculous. Like, how can you imagine writing for like a major publication, especially when like rock music is the king? Classic rock is the king in the 70s.
I think that Billy Crudup is one of I don't want to say regret, but one of the movies that I wish, or one of the actors that I wish took off more than he did. Now, his filmography is fantastic, right? Like, he's got a lot of like movies under his belt, right? Like, he did Watchmen, and he did, Mission Impossible 3, and he did Big Fish. But I wish his career would have taken off a little bit more than what it did, because he was absolutely fantastic in this movie.
I totally agree. I really liked him in Big Fish. I think he played a great role. He was in Sleepers.
I feel like he was Tommy Marcano in Sleepers, and he visited the Wilkinson Home for Boys.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a joke amongst my friends. Like, I know it's bad, and people that see this movie will get it, but they're like, dude, I can't do that. If I get in trouble, my dad's gonna send me to the Wilkinson Home for Boys. Like, that was a joke that we had growing up.
Man, that Sleepers fucked me up when I saw that movie.
Sleepers was a fucking jacked up movie. But yeah, he was Tommy Marcano. He was in
J. Edgar Hoover.
He was J. Edgar Hoover in Public Enemies, which is where I met Christian Bale on the set of that movie. But you know, I wish his career would have blown up. Also, you brought up Big Fish, and I feel like that was the last great Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, I can see how people think that way. I have to look and see. I did Sweeney. I like Sweeney, the barber of.
Yeah,
Sweeney
I know.
Todd.
I like Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, but like, I don't know if that counts. If I'm being honest,
I mean, he 2007. So, and then he did Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland does not count.
Yeah,
I'm
Sweeney
sorry.
Todd was after Corpse Bride. So I will say Sweeney Todd's probably his last one. Alice in Wonderland was what it was. But yeah, we can go. That's another thing we can do. Another whole.
Yeah, I definitely want to do a deep dive on Tim Burton because, like, if you look at his filmography up until, I don't know. Sorry, I'm just like I'm lamenting over like, what happened? What happened? Like,
with Tim Burton?
Yeah, did he just stop caring?
I don't know, but
was it just for the paycheck? Alice in Wonderland, Dark Shadows, like, Dumbo. Like, really, dude? Like, is this the story that you have to tell after you start off with Frankenweenie, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Beetlejuice, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, Ed Wood, Mars Attacks, Sleepy Hollow, Planet of the Apes?
There is rumor that he's going to be doing Beetlejuice 2 and that Winona Ryder and Michael Keaton are coming back.
If it's not Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii, then I don't give a shit.
That was his screenplay, so we'll see.
I know.
We'll see.
We could talk about that all day, but like going back to Almost Famous, if I had to rank this movie on a scale 10 to 10, 9.6.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend watching it. For the soundtrack alone, it's very good. But this movie also shows like the bad things about, bands. The Band-Aids get sold off in a fucking card game.
For a case of beer.
Yeah. So it shows, how some of the band members treat people like objects.
Yeah.
So it shows the dark side of that too.
Well, that's like the way it was in like this, like the 70s rock scene, man. Like, I know they're not groupies, they were Band-Aids, but like that's how they treated people, and it wasn't cool, but it's just how it was.
Yep. But with that, let's get to my next one.
I took that picture just when you did it. Look how happy you are. I wanted to see that face again.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Fuck you. I gave you a reason to live, and you were more than happy to help. You don't want the truth. You make up your own truth.
Memento, directed by Christopher Nolan, who's also known for the Batman series, Insomnia, The Prestige, Interstellar, Inception, Dunkirk, and Tenet.
Never heard of
this
him.
movie. This movie stars Guy Pearce, Carrie-Anne Moss, and Joe Pantoliano, aka Joey Pants.
Joey Pants.
This movie had a budget of $9 million and it made 40 at the box office. This movie means a lot to me because this is my first introduction into Christopher Nolan. This is his first. He did a previous film before this, but this is his first big film.
Yeah.
I fell in love with Christopher Nolan and his directing style and storytelling after watching this movie. This movie is not an easy follow. I'm letting everybody know that if you haven't seen it, you might have to watch it once or twice. But the way the movie is, it goes from a guy trying to find the person who murdered his wife, one of the people that murdered his wife, and he wants to get revenge. The plot twists and turns, the way the movie is shot from when the main character has amnesia to where if he's remembering it goes black and white. So those scenes are great. The movie is told in reverse order.
Yep.
You're actually seeing the ending first. And that, like, me watching movies, that was the first time I've ever seen anything like that done. It's beautifully told. The actors are Guy Pearce is perfect in this movie. Joey Pants is perfect. Carrie-Anne Moss is perfect in this movie. It's one of my favorite movies to watch. it's so crazy. The twists and turns like keep you on top of your toes. Like you want to go back and watch it again to see if you missed anything, if there's
You
any
have
way you
to.
can pick up. It's such a great movie. And what really pisses me off about this movie is that it's getting a remake.
Doesn't need it.
And it does not need it. And this is like, if you know about my hot takes, I am totally against remakes unless the story wasn't told perfectly. And this movie was told perfectly. There's no need for a remake.
Completely agree.
It's this story was actually written. The original concept of the story was actually written by Christopher Nolan's brother John. It's called Memento Mortius is the name of the short story he did. And he made his own original screenplay after that. Christopher Nolan is. But it's just the fact that his brother thought of the idea is crazy, and he turned into this, and it's beautifully done. I highly recommend you guys checking out. It's a classic in my book. What about you, Swell?
So the weird part about this movie, and stop me where you disagree, but you think that Christopher Nolan's movies couldn't get any better after this because the movie's perfect, but they continue to get better and better and better. And I think they dropped a trailer for Oppenheimer today.
Yes.
It's a black and white trailer, but I think they dropped that trailer today. But he makes fantastic movies, right? Like, I didn't think I could love a movie. Let's play this game. Yumper, ask me what my favorite Christopher Nolan movie is.
Well, what's your favorite Christopher Nolan movie?
Yumper, what do you think I'm going to say?
Probably The Dark Knight.
No, it's Inception.
And you know what? It's crazy is that if you see this movie, you can see how Inception basically expands upon that writing style.
Yeah. Like, you know how I feel about Batman. Everyone knows how I feel about Batman. I love The Dark Knight. But The Dark Knight is a Batman movie, right? It's different. It was his take on a telling of a Batman story. But Inception was this beautifully shot movie where Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't know what's a dream and what's reality. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt is fantastic in it. Christopher Nolan knows how to tell a fucking story.
And he also knows how to keep people going back to rewatching something.
Yeah, like the rewatchability factor on Christopher Nolan movies is out of this world.
And I think that's a good thing, that not just for like the concept of money because you want to go back to the theater. It's more of a concept of like
art.
You're recognizing this art and you want to see it again. And I know like we're big Christopher Nolan fans, but like his talent is like so great. Like it's so unique on the way he views film. And
well, and to me, this is my favorite movie. You're going to disagree. I know you will, but this is my favorite movie with Carrie-Anne Moss in it.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Like The Matrix, I thought she's what she's mostly known for.
Yeah.
But I think this role is probably her best. And you have Joey Pants in there. And the only reason Joey Pants got this role was because Carrie-Anne Moss was with him in The Matrix and she recommended him. And Joey Pants, like another character that you see, a person you see, in so many movies, you know his face. And he's a great character actor. Awesome interview too. If you guys ever listen to Chaz Palminteri's podcast on YouTube, you can check him out. He has a great interview with Joe Pantoliano, and he tells like how his upbringing and whatnot and why he did so many films. But like, great character actor, humble man. He's great in this role too. I mean, I love him in all his movies, but I think the casting in here is perfect. Guy Pearce was perfect for his role.
Guy Pearce is another one that I feel like should have went on to have a bigger career.
I totally agree with that. Like after seeing this movie, I thought big things were coming for him.
Me too.
But this movie,
I heard rumors that they wanted Guy Pearce to play Bruce Wayne Batman in the Nolan series. Like after this movie, like I know he did Insomnia after this, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
And then he did Batman Begins, if I'm not mistaken. Or was there a third? Was The Prestige before? No, The Prestige was after Batman Begins. I don't know.
With Nolan, this was his first, and I think Batman Begins was is before The Prestige. I think Batman Begins was
but Insomnia was the second. Insomnia was the follow-up.
Yes, Insomnia was the follow-up. I'm making sure right now.
I'm double checking right now too.
Sorry for those who are listening.
We love you.
But I just want to make sure. Yeah, Insomnia was the follow-up after this. Then Batman Begins.
Then Batman Begins. Then The Prestige.
Then The Prestige. Then Dark Knight.
Then The Dark Knight. Then Inception.
Then The Dark Knight Rises. Interstellar. Dunkirk, Tenet, and then Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Like, just look at that list. Look at look at the
It's
list.
unreal. It's
Like,
unreal. So the other night, that kid that I told you about, Brandon, that came over, I told him about my Nolan take, and he's like, "Well, what makes a great director, right?" Or not my Nolan take, but my Coen brothers take. He's like, "What makes a great director? How many movies do you have to make to be considered a great director?" And I said at least 3. Right? That's what I would say. And he's like, "Well, let's look at the Coen brothers list," right? And he made an argument, and I get it, right? Like the Coen brothers hill is not a hill that I'm going to die on, right? It is what it is. Like I love Fargo. I'll never not say a good thing about Fargo, but like, look at Nolan's body of work, man. Like, it's nuts.
Yeah, if you take out the 3 Batman films,
right? And those movies are awesome.
Yeah, you still have Inception, Dunkirk, The Prestige, Memento, Insomnia. You still have those films in there.
The weakest link in all those movies is Insomnia.
Yeah, and it's still a good movie.
And it's still a good movie.
It's a different take on things. Like it's an Al Pacino vehicle. It's I don't know. Christopher Nolan, like, I know we're gushing over him, but he's so awesome. Like,
that's because he's the man. I think that you and I should probably like go rewatch Tenet or Dunkirk one night, like, and hang out.
Definitely. I would totally be down for that. Any Christopher Nolan movie, I'm always down for watching. Can
I watch in my underwear?
Only if you eat a bucket of chicken and use the bones for mashed potatoes.
Oh, okay.
But with that, Swole, let's get to your final film.
You know what Ed Gein said about women? Ed Gein, maitre d' a canal bar? No, serial killer, Wisconsin in the 50s.
And what did Ed say?
He said, when I see a pretty girl walking down the street, I think 2 things. One part of me wants to take her out and talk to her, be real nice and sweet and treat her right.
And what the other part of him think?
What her head would look like on a stick.
American Psycho, directed by Mary Herron, who's probably most popularly known for this movie and I Shot Andy Warhol, a documentary. It's based off a novel by Bret Easton Ellis, and this film stars Christian Bale, William Dafoe, Jared Leto, Josh Lucas, and Reese Witherspoon. This movie had a budget of $7 million and a box office of $34.3 million. So, Swell, tell me why this is your favorite movie of 2000.
Well, first of all, like, in a previous life, I still do. It's got to catch my eye now. I love to read. Right. I read Requiem for a Dream. I read, I like to read books that are turned into movies, but I like to read. And Bret Easton Ellis is one of my literary heroes. Right. So I was very, very excited. Leonardo DiCaprio was supposed to play this role. And he dropped out to do other movies. What movie was it? I think it was Titanic.
Yeah, I think no. This was.
I don't know if you ever heard of that one.
Well, I think this might have been after Titanic because he wanted $21 million.
Oh yeah. So this was after Titanic because Titanic came out in what, 96?
I think 98.
98.
Yeah, because this movie was Titanic came out in 98. But I know Leo wanted Leo to be the lead for this role.
Yeah,
and he wanted $21 million, and Christian Bale was fighting really hard for this role. This is like a role he really wanted. Even Ewan McGregor was actually offered Patrick Bateman, and Christian Bale went to him and told him to turn it down.
Probably fresh off of Trainspotting, right? Like,
yeah,
this movie that bumped him into like the stratosphere. But like, Bret Easton Ellis is one of my literary heroes, right? Like American Psycho, Rules of Attraction, Less Than Zero. Like, he wrote these books that were turned into movies. Like Rules of Attraction, it is what it is, but Less Than Zero is fantastic Robert Downey Jr. vehicle. American Psycho is amazing. There were some other movies that were turned into stuff. But he was part of this wave of authors. And this movie fucked me up. Like, it screwed with my head. It's fantastic. It's amazing. It didn't screw with my head like Requiem for a Dream did, but like, to think that there are people out there that like feel this way or think this way, or like, the whole Wall Street thing. So, couple things here, right? I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here with American Psycho. I've said this before in the pod, But before I met my wife, I had zero desire to ever leave the city of Chicago. Anybody that knows me knows that. Like, I didn't want to go to Vegas. I didn't want to go to New York. I didn't want to go see all the ballparks that I'm seeing, right? So I meet my wife. My wife is, my best friend in the entire world. And she's like, let's go see these ballparks. Let's knock these ballparks off your list. Let's go to New York, right? I never thought I'd go to New York. I thought these were just places that exist, like in the movies and on TV, right? So we go to New York and we go to Yankee Stadium, and my wife hurts her back, right? So she sends me to Walgreens, but in New York, they don't call them Walgreens. They call them Dwayne Reddy's, right? And I'm walking down. We're staying on Wall Street, and I'm walking through Wall Street, and I look up, and I'm like, holy shit, this is where American Psycho was filmed. I'm like, holy crap. And I was just taken back. The other thing is that I met Christian Bale on the set of Public Enemies outside of my apartment in Pilsen. And this was right after, or maybe right before, the stuff that happened on the set of Terminator Salvation, where he yelled at one of the sound guys on the movie. And he had this reputation of being an asshole. Well, let me tell you this. I have it right here, and I've showed it to you before, Yumper. But this is my copy of American Psycho on DVD, one of the few physical pieces of media that I still own, but it's autographed by Christian Bale, because that man sat and he talked with me for 15 minutes while he was signing autographs, because everybody just wanted Batman stuff signed. And I asked him about Bret Easton Ellis's novel, and I asked him about working with Herzog and Rescue Dawn. So that makes this movie even more special to me. Sorry, I was long-winded there.
No. I mean, that's the whole point of our show. How movies make you feel.
I love this movie. I love Christian Bale. I think when I met him, he was the nicest guy. I'll never ever let anything happen to this autographed copy of American Psycho. I love Bret Easton Ellis. This was a role that I love Jared Leto in.
Yeah, he plays a complete asshole in this movie.
Paul Allen, right? Reese Witherspoon is in this movie. I love this movie.
It's a good movie. And just going back, Leo did The Beach instead of this movie.
The Beach. Oh, he did a Danny Boyle movie, which, by the way, is severely underrated. I love The Beach.
Yes. But just like I said, just going through how Leo wanted that 21 mil, when Christian Bale took over, they actually shrunk the budget again to $7 million, which made it a hit. And then, the rental and, cult classic, I guess we would consider this film a cult classic. It's a good, it's a psychological role too. I mean, you when the ending happens, you don't know if it really happened. Like, what really happened? Is it all in his mind?
Happened? You don't know.
And I love that. And it's kind of like, it's a great follow-up to Memento, because we just went through something that's relating to mind and writing. And this film is beautifully written, based off the book.
Well, and I have friends that hate movies that are non-linear storytelling. They hate them. Like my best friend, Mike, he hates the movie Pulp Fiction because the storyline jumps around, right? So like, I don't care, and I love this movie. You don't know how it ends. You don't know how Memento, where it started, where it began. But I love the way that this movie, you don't know what happens at the end.
Yes, and I think when it's done correctly, because in Nope, you're going to see it done that way. I want to know your opinion on it when you watched it, but that
I'll let you know
when it's done correctly, I think it's done very good.
Okay.
Linear storytelling is sometimes boring.
I agree.
And I do like the jumping around, finding clues out, and this movie, like, arguably, Christian Bale propelled his star higher. I mean, I know he was in Little Women.
I don't think he gets Batman if he's not in this movie.
No, I don't think so. And, I mean, it's like his character is iconic. I mean, you still see GIFs used of it. You still see memes used of it. People still dress up as it. It's.
I need to return some videotapes.
Yes, that's like we've heard that much. I need to return some videotapes. Or, is that you, Patrick? You are incorrect, Lewis. like just stuff like that. Huey Lewis in the news. Like, it's a big part of the movie. Stuff like just his little quirks, like his dancing in the raincoat. It's iconic.
I completely agree.
Like, it's a great choice, and it's definitely like, a great movie to check out if you haven't seen it. And just one more thing about how this movie was, perceived before it was made. People were telling Christian Bale, "Do not take this role; it's career suicide." And how wrong, it turned out to be for those people who think that way.
This movie changed my life. Like, not like oh my God, I need to model my life after this movie, but like, I'm like, this is what movies could be. Like,
yes,
this is what movies could be to you. It's not just, happy action fun time all the time. Like, there are some sick people in this world, and yeah,
especially when they go through his book at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally classic movie. Check it out. I definitely highly recommend. We both highly recommend it.
I love this poster too. The original movie poster for this movie. I love it.
Yeah, with the knife, the reflection of the knife. Awesome movie, guys. Just check out American Psycho if you haven't seen it. So that's our list for 2000. Let us know if you agree with us at our Twitter handle at Yumper and Svo, or at the Tan Glove Twitter handle, or just check us out at thetanglove.com. But as you guys know, we have an event going on. And Svo, you want to tell everybody about the event?
Yeah, so I just want to give a little bit of an update. We have raised over $1,000 for Planned Parenthood of America. $1,000, and every single cent of that is going to be donated to them. The food, the drink, the entertainment is all going to be donated by myself and Yumper, along with a silent partner who wishes to remain anonymous. But this person is one of our good friends. We love this person, but he wanted to be involved. But we're not gonna put him on the spot. We're not gonna call him out. But all the food and drink is going to be donated by us. So every single cent goes to a good charity, Planned Parenthood for America. They help with advocating for women's reproductive rights and women's health. They also help with medical procedures when needed and when necessary. And it's something that we absolutely believe in. So we still have some tickets that are still on sale. The event is going to be August 20th, 2022 at 4 p.m. at my house. So if you know, you know. You know where the flyer is. You know where you can buy tickets. We're going to post it on our Twitter. We still want to see more faces, but it's going to be a barbecue, food, and music, and a movie. We might have the White Sox game streaming before it gets dark for the movie. We're going to have some games. Yumper, do you want to add anything about this barbecue?
No, we might have some nice little gifts to give away.
We might have some nice little gifts to give away. Shout out to my man Yumper for taking care of that end. But we do have a surprise for our attendees that we're very, very excited about. So yeah, August 20th, we'll post the link again on our Twitter all week. And yeah,
guys, like Svo said, this is a cause that we both believe in. We want to do more than just like the thoughts and prayers. And if you can, please come out. It's going to a good cause. Like everything is going towards Planned Parenthood of America. None of it's being kept by us. So and also we like to hang out with you guys. Our Top Gun event was nice, was a success, and let's still do it for a good cause. Because we'll come out, get some food, drink, play some games, get some prizes, and watch a cinematic masterpiece with us, helping out Planned Parenthood. But with that, Svo, I'm gonna say my goodbyes before we get to your final thought. Thanks again, everybody, for listening to us. Shout out to Ashley for coming on and trying to convince me that I might have second thoughts about Encanto, which I don't, but you tried.
You totally did.
But yeah, thank you everybody for listening. I really do appreciate all your tweets and whatnot. Shankster, Lucky Spag, you guys are awesome. The support of constantly promoting the show when we don't ask you to. That makes us feel good, guys. This is like something we're really passionate about. It's a side project, a hobby of ours, but we're really passionate about it, and we also like interacting with all you guys. Stay safe out there. Stay out of the drama on Twitter, and be well. And with that, Svo, let's get to your final thought.
Yeah, so my final thought is going to piggyback, to use some Apple terminology, on what Yumper said. A majority of our audience is on Twitter. And yesterday, White Sox Twitter was an absolute fucking tire fire. It was a tire fire. And if you're listening to this and you were involved or whatever, that's besides the point. But if you don't have anything nice to say, then shut the fuck up. No one wants to fight. No one wants to argue. We just want to have a good time. We want to listen to podcasts about the White Sox and about movies and about pop culture, and we want to get along, right? If you don't have anything nice to say, move on. You don't have to reply. You don't have to fight or defend your friends. Like, it's great you want to be a good friend and stick up for them, but maybe just leave it alone. And sometimes the best thing that you could say is something that you don't say. On that note, I love you all. Deuces.
Thank you for listening to Yumper and Svo at the Show podcast, a Tan and Glove production.
That's it. I'm getting out of here.